podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You're listening to WRRAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the WRRAP Podcast. I'm Jamie and joining me for this one is Harley and James. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
So just to say, Lee is not with us this week as he's not feeling 100%, so hopefully he'll get well soon. Just the three of us then, so let's get straight into drink of the week. I have got a bottle of Corona this week because I really fancy a Corona. And it's just such a light and refreshing drink, isn't it? I could drink quite a number of these, to be honest, and it has to be served with a slice of lemon or lime because nothing winds me up more when you go to a pub. You ask for a bottle of Corona, they just give it to you. They don't even ask you if you want a lemon or lime in it. And it doesn't taste the same when there's no lemon or lime in it.
It's the only beer or lager that is better out of a bottle than it is off tap.
Agree.
And Peroni, actually. I'd give it Peroni in the same there.
I had it off tap in Wetherspoons, and it did not taste anything like it does in the bottle.
There are many reasons that can be.
Exactly. It was Wetherspoons in fairness, but it does come in a glass that actually looks like the bottle. It's quite cool how they do it, but it wasn't very nice. You are better off drinking in a bottle. Harley, what have you got? What's your drink of the week?
So going through my top of Morrison shelf, I've gone for Conway Brewery again. This was Honey Fair, so it's a honey golden ale. I might have already had this one on the pod before. I can't remember. It's just really nice little golden ale. And compared to last week, which tasted like Alvin Jones' armpits, it's quite nice to have one that's nice and drinkable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. James, have you got what have you got? Tesco lemon and lime?
I haven't got anything actually.
Tea?
No, nothing. I've been travelling back from Wales today, so I'm a bit tired.
Have you at least drunk anything in the last week that we could put on for the drink of the week?
I had a lovely coffee this morning from a nice little coffee shop in Swansea. Actually, tell you that when I went to get my hair cut on Saturday, I went to Crafty Smuggler, which is a very nice coffee shop there. And yeah, the vibes were good. It was just nice. I do like I'm a bit of a coffee snob nowadays.
Yeah. So what coffee did you go for then?
Always a
rugby play class
latte with oat milk. Classic. You can't go wrong.
I'm a big fan of an oat flat white now as well.
Yeah, well, I like a flat white if I'm in a rush.
See, I wish I liked the taste of coffee, but I don't. I'm a tea drinker. I love the smell of coffee.
Surprises me, James.
I know. I love the smell of coffee. I like the idea of drinking coffee, but I just hate it. I'm a tea drinker. That's it.
I drink both, but it depends on, for me, for coffee. I got really snobby with my coffee when I was working next to uni because we had a proper little espresso machine type thing. You put your own, you grind your own beans, stick it in, and you'd make a cappuccino or whatever, and it's so good. Although I was getting to the point where I was having quintuple strength.
Yeah, just never like the smell of coffee though. I said that's freshly roasted smell. I love it, but I just hate the taste of it. Okay, never mind. Let's get into news then. Quite a lot of news to get through. Shall we start with the big news that broke yesterday? Former Wales, British and Irish Lions and Scarlets centre Jonathan Davies has announced his retirement from professional rugby. He retires with 96 Wales caps, as well as 2 British and Irish Lions tours and 209 appearances for the Scarlets. And then he also spent 2 years in France with Clermont-Auvergne. What a player, what a career. As a Wales and British and Irish Lions fan, I've got a lot of love for Foxy, great memories. 2013, there are still people complaining about it now. But I'm sorry, Gatlin was absolutely right to drop O'Driscoll to bring Jonathan Davies. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. I will argue that to the cows come home, and history has proven it right. 2017, he was player of the series, wasn't he, as voted for by his teammates. A brilliant player for Wales, fantastic servant to Scarlets and Welsh rugby. I love Fox. I thought he was great. Probably is the right time for him now, though, to hang up his boots. And he has just, he's going to have a child, isn't he? So he's going to be a new parent. So that's going to be nice for him. Oh, he's born now, is it?
Yeah, he got the child.
Oh, fair play to him. Then.
Just unreal. Like,
yeah,
as an Osprey supporter, you hated him in a Scarlets jersey, and then I think when he went to Claremont, you realised what they had missed, and you were just like, "Fuck, this guy is good." But just he didn't age, so he looked the same from when he first started to when he finished. The shape on him, he had it all really. You know, he had that lovely left peg, really underrated kicking option. You know, that handoff, just sort of
the handoff.
yeah, you know,
Yes.
everyone goes to the Sexton one, or you're the Tammy Vainavanu one against New Zealand. Yeah, just what a man, what a player, and a half decent pundit as well. So
yeah,
good
Yeah,
luck to
very, very knowledgeable. I said one of my favourites has got to be, I think it was sort of that 2018 Six Nations, and Scotland were giving it the big, we were hosting Scotland first up, and they were giving it the big uns because they had an undefeated autumn, and how Hugh Jones was, going to absolutely carve everyone to pieces.
Yeah.
And not only did he not get past Foxy just turned him into a turnstile, and I think we got 2 or 3 just push around, and it was just always just great watching Foxy in full flight. And I said, in like 2017, he was just unplayable.
Yeah, he was outstanding, wasn't he? Fair play, hell of a career. Best of luck to him, whoever his future endeavours are. But yeah, so Foxy's retired. And then in other news that spoiled the piss of many Welsh rugby supporters, the WRU was offered to wipe out a sizable chunk of debt at all 4 professional teams in return for a 20% equity stake that would give Warren Gatland greater control over the players. So under this proposed new agreement, Gatland will have a say on the number of minutes each Wales squad member plays, what position they are played in, and in some instances, which Welsh club they play for. The WRU would also have a say on the hiring of CEOs at each of the Welsh teams. In the Wales Online report, they say that 2 teams have agreed to this offer in principle, with the other 2 not fully convinced. So, as I said, there are a number of proposals that's been discussed, but this is one that's been leaked and been put out there, and it has boiled the piss of many Welsh rugby supporters, it's fair to say. Who wants to have a go at this one then? Who wants to have this say?
I'm going to make a thing. So they're talking about a sizable chunk of debt. Like the sizable chunk of debt that the WRU put onto the regions for COVID, when all the other URC nations were absorbing costs to try and help their teams, the WRU landed us in debt. They want to take ownership stake. It's not long ago that they made the region sign an agreement, which one of the key clauses was the Dragons had to leave WRU ownership. They were trying to actively get rid of them. And now Gatland's come back and he wants to have his cake and eat it. The previous agreement said that the Wales coach can only have a certain amount of access. He's not happy now, he wants more access. And he basically wants to have 4 feeder teams where he treats them like his own little chess pets. I'm really not happy with it. And so Dan from Cardiff Central, he put a post on his own account about it, and the rest of the pod backed up saying that this happens, we're walking away, we can't have it. It's a bit more complicated with like the way Cardiff. I mean, it always is with Cardiff because it's just unnecessarily convoluted how that club's run. But I mean, for WRU to even put in a tender offer, it requires like 6 meetings, need to wake all the vampires that run the organisation up from their slumber to have a meeting. There are plenty of ways that the WRU and the regions could work to have this sort of thing. And I think trying to say, oh, all this debt we've lumbered with will mysteriously go away if you do as we say, it's not the way for me. That feels very much the regions given, the WRU take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like this proposal, to be honest. What I would say, though, and this is just my personal view, you talked about you went down about walking away if this happens. I think that's a little bit extreme for me. I wouldn't walk away from the Dragons if it happened, because I just think at a time when all our clubs need their support, I don't see how that's helping people saying, that's it, I'm done. I'm not renewing my season ticket. I'm walking away. I'm finished. That's not helping your club. So I'm not going to do that, but each to their own. I'm not comfortable with these proposals, but if the Dragons, who are rumoured to be in favour, now Reece Blumberg has spoken about this on Scrum 5. I'm not entirely sure if he was talking about this particular deal, because he did say there are a number of proposals being discussed. So it's not really clear. I know BBC are putting on their social today, Dragons in favour of this deal, but I'm not sure if it's this particular deal or just a deal. I wouldn't be comfortable with it. I wouldn't like it, but I'm not going to walk away. But you're absolutely right, Harley. I think it's wrong that this debt is not our debt. It's the WRU's debt. They're the ones that took it out, and yet this lumbering the regions with it. And it's really unfair now that they're saying, well, yeah, we'll get rid of this debt, our debt that we loaded onto you, but we want 20%, and we're going to tell you where we want your players to play, how many minutes we can play, and we'll even tell you what CEOs you can hire. And it is all about control. I'm not in favour of it at all. But like I said, I'm not going to walk away if it did happen. What about you then, James? What do you make of it then?
I'm probably a bit more mellow than I was when it first broke, because we
Yeah,
recorded when it first broke. I'm, despite only being 27, I've been around the block long enough to know that if a WRU proposes a deal like this, where they say it's only 20%, we'd have some control. The players will still have to say yes to moving. It's not going to happen like that, because that's not how Warren Gatland works, you know. So I'm very much of, this just doesn't seem like a beneficial agreement to all parties. And for me, it's a thinly veiled way of introducing a tiered funding model, where you can essentially stack two teams with box office squads that are capable of competing come playoff time, and two feeder ones. That's what it feels like to me. But that's another conversation. I get bad vibes from it. I probably wouldn't walk away like you, James, but it'd
no,
make it a lot harder. As always, Lance has been quite active on X around these things. He said, very much said speculation, but like I said, we'll see. It's very early. I'm of the ilk that multiple things are being discussed. And one thing that Lance has maintained is that we would not lose our independence as a club. And the heavy rumors are that we're the ones that said no. That is coming out. So, which is a good thing.
yeah. I mean, Blumberg did say on our Scrum 5 pod, he said it's not straightforward as throwing just one deal out that suits everybody. There are a number of proposals, but it's challenging because you have 4 different ownership groups with 4 different objectives. But the WRU executive board has taken control. Is a huge step forward from where they were. They really tried to make it work, trying to get us more money and make us all more sustainable. It is ironic, though, isn't it, that the Dragons spent years trying to break free from WRU control, and now they're sort of saying, "Well, yeah, you could have the 20% if Avos makes us more sustainable." But it won't go down well with supporters. But I don't think you're going to see supporters walking away.
Big fan of your owner wanting to sign Antoine Dupont, by the way.
Yes, I mean that was a bit fanciful, wasn't it? I think what Reece Blumwood was trying to say was he was talking about the ambition that the owners have, and he just used Antoine Dupont as an example. There is absolutely no chance we're going to see Antoine Dupont at Dragons, but could you imagine how fun that would be if it did actually
I can
happen?
perfectly imagine the American guy. I'm wondering if that's why so many, quite a few of the ex-Dragons players have gone over to Miami Sharks. I wonder if he's involved with that at all. But I could imagine him going, he's the best player in the world. We should sign him. There's just something very American about that without necessarily considering it.
Do you remember
let's
when
be
we
fair,
were linked?
if you could, who wouldn't?
Yeah, do you remember when we were linked to Quade Cooper and Bernard Chapman coming? That was quite funny, wasn't it? It was one of those moments.
We had Luke McAllister a few years ago. We had Luke McAllister, and that was funny.
I loved him at Home Alone.
Yeah.
So we don't like these proposals then, do we? But we're going to have to see what happens, because ultimately it's all very well, we can debate and speculate about who these 2 teams have agreed to it, but it needs all 4 teams to agree, doesn't it? That's my understanding, isn't it? All 4 teams need to agree a deal in order for something to happen. So if Cardiff have said no, and for example, Ospreys have said no, then this proposal isn't going to happen. They need to come up with a new proposal.
And again, to my understanding, it's not wiping away debt; it's restructuring the payment schedule of the debts.
So again, that seems more like a blackmail thing of saying,
Yeah.
if you do what we want, we'll make it easier for you.
Essentially, they say the guys that it was proposed as would save the regions another £1 million per year. So if you're the Ospreys where you're losing £2 million a year, it's a carrot. It's a big, big carrot.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what
Feels
happens.
more stick than carrot to me personally, but there we go.
Yeah, November, isn't it? I think the deadline for this deal is they want to try and work something out by November. So we'll have to see what happens. But
need to sort out their bloody strategy first. That's supposed to be out this month.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah. I think we just need to keep an eye on and see what happens. But yeah, that's the big news that boiled everyone's piss was this 20% equity stake news. So yeah, moving on. Then sad news, I'm afraid. Kevin Bowring, Welsh Rugby's first professional coach, has died after suffering a heart attack at the age of 70. He led Wales in 29 matches with 15 wins and 14 defeats before leaving the role in 1998. He then went on to become the head of the RFU's elite coach development program, and Bowring stayed at the RFU until his retirement in 2016, but afterwards continued to mentor young coaches as a coach development consultant, including spending some time with the Welsh regional coaches. And we've heard, haven't we, from Dave Flanagan, we heard of Toby Booth, I think Matt Sherratt has spoken as well about the importance of Kevin Bowring in their careers. Very highly respected coach, one of Welsh Rugby's great fingers, apparently. And I was reading an article where he had a lot of ideas for Welsh Rugby, and he was telling the WRU, we need to change, the system is broken. But of course, the WRU didn't listen to him. Cal Supri. So, yeah, very sad news that. And then just quickly moving on, and Steph Hughes will leave the Dragons in November to take up a player coach role in Major League Rugby in America. So Hughes is going to link up with former Dragons defence coach Simon Cross, who is the head coach at Old Glory DC. So yeah, I spoke about this on Dragons Day last night with Gav, and good luck to him, I say. I got a lot of time for Steph Hughes. I think he's an excellent player, really good club man, very intelligent bloke. I think it's the right time for the club to let him go because he probably wouldn't have had that much game time this season. He is falling behind the pecking order now when you've got guys like Harry Ackerman, Joe Westwood, and Aaron Owen and Harry Wilson there as well. He probably would have left at the end of the season anyway. So I think it's fair to let him go now and pursue this opportunity. Best of luck to him, I say. He'll do well out there, Harley. I know you follow American rugby, don't you? He'll be a good asset out there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a very solid club player, but actually they're the sort of players who go over to the MLR and look really sharp, really good. And as you said, he's quite a good, intelligent player. Like, I can see him becoming quite a good technical coach at some stage.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. I mean, I can't understand what he's saying on them, but the Thursday night segment he's been doing for during the SRC games, where he's like going through different skills, I found that really interesting just by looking at the actions and how he's showing how you'd shape the kick and things like that. You can tell he's got that sort of brain that translates quite well over to coaching. Yeah, I mean, of all the teams, he's friend of the podcast. David Lawrence will not be happy with him going for his arch rivals, Old Glory. But I mean, when I heard he was going to America, I genuinely thought he was going to join Rob Evans at the Sharks, at Miami Sharks personally. But he's gone for a serious team. That's fine. Although the kit is nowhere near as pretty.
I would just like to point out, you say Harley's a fan of American rugby, right? I spent 115 of my Great British pounds when I was in university to get a Rugby United New York season 1 jersey sent over. I was obsessed with that.
That just means you're financially irresponsible. Not that you like American rugby.
I love that league, right? And then my team went.
It is a fantastic league.
And now I support the Chicago Hounds. Big up, Chicago.
Of course you support the Chicago Hounds because I supported the Jackals, and you just like to hate whatever you like to position yourself to hate me.
In baseball, I'm a Chicago White Sox fan, right? I'm also a Chicago Blackhawks fan for hockey, so it made sense that I was a Chicago Hounds fan. But yeah, he's also, I think he's gone over in a player coach role.
Yeah, I did say that.
That'd be really good for him. Apologies, Wales have got a penalty in the
money.
football, so I'm waiting to see if we scored.
All right, okay. Yeah, it's a good move for him. And like I said, fair play to the club for letting him pursue this opportunity because some clubs would turn around and go, well, no, you're not leaving till the end of the season. But it's the right opportunity for him and his family. So, yeah, all the best to him. Okay, shall we move on and review what happened on the weekend? Started on Saturday afternoon, Cardiff 19, Scarlets 25. Um, Probably just as well he's not here, Harley, isn't it? Because he would be absolutely loving this right now. So, look, another disappointed home defeat for Cardiff. But what are your takeaways from that game on Saturday?
You'll see a running theme as we go through the game. Neither team took their chances really, and they were both quite sloppy in attack. Actually, if you look at through all the stats, actually, it's relatively even. The weird one that stands out is Cardiff made 13.2 passes for every kick, which is like ridiculous. Like, 5 is about test standard, and then the URC tends to be a bit between about 5 and 7, and then like 13.2 is like you're just passing the ball. And even when we were down, we're only against 14 and 13 players, you could see because we're just so like in our head, we've got to get it wide. You could just see Scarlets just hard drift, and it was that every day. Yeah, the amount of possession we had in that last like 10, 20 minutes, like we should have scored and we should have kicked points. I mean, ultimately, that is what made the difference is Ewan Lloyd's 2 penalty kicks. Yeah, so I said, just really wasteful. And I don't think Scarlets didn't, I wouldn't say they necessarily created stuff. There was a couple of defensive lapses. I think the result was fair. I don't think either team deserved a try bonus point, and Cardiff didn't deserve to win that. There's one interesting thing I did want to pick up, and to be honest, it could probably be more useful talking to Hugh than Lee, but Eddie James took on a lot of the kicking. In quite interesting, and Ewan Lloyd tended to be sat out on the wing a lot during open play, which is just a really interesting thing I noticed. Like if they were going to clear, it was either Gareth Davis, who had a fantastic game. I think he almost makes up for how terrible he was at Parker Scarlets 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it was an all right game. There's definitely better ones have been played between the two sides, but Cardiff and that Johnny. I don't know what it is about playing at Cap that makes Johnny Williams look like a world beater.
He was very, very good. I thought he was excellent.
But you'll be anonymous now for every other game. Like it's just one of those things. He plays really well against us and then doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
What a
James,
poor game.
I was going to say you could give the Scarlet view if you want, because obviously he's not here. So, what's your take on
being
that
very
game?
balanced.
I think that Scarlets did deserve the win. I think their discipline is still awful. I think Louse's yellow. I actually think he yellow carded the wrong person. I think Henry Thomas should have been the one yellow carded.
Wasn't it for the neck/cock roll that you got yellowed?
No, Lousy got yellowed because he targeted in the ref side targeted the limb of Evan Daniel, and his weight landed on top of that. Henry Thomas then did a neck roll the other way, so it was pretty grim to watch. I actually said in the group chat that I think Henry Thomas should have been yellowed. Tom Rogers' one is absolutely a yellow card. Anyone who could not see that, he needs to sort his discipline out. He's becoming
that's 2 in 2 games.
a machine.
Also,
and
he doesn't look anywhere near as good.
The McLeod one. Or was it for pulling down a maul?
Yeah, which he gave penalty try, so it was always going to, you're always going to get yellow for that one.
So, yeah, Scarlets need to sort out discipline because better teams than that will punish them.
But Cardiff didn't score a single point when they were up players.
Yep.
It's not. I'd like to caveat with like during that double yellow period, Scarlets did actually have a lot of possession for that. That was because Cardiff were really sloppy, and that Ben Thomas break where he needed to pull a little bit left just to give more space for Gabe Hemmer-Webb. Yeah. Brilliant try saver from Blair Murray, mind, but also and very similar one on the other end of the pitch. It's a 5-on-2, and Mason Grady basically just arcs across, and he covers about 15 meters widthways, and then there's just no space then for the other players. And then we get turned over. It's really stupid. Sorry, James.
No, sorry, I've been sent a bit of breaking news. Montpellier are interested in signing Adam Beard for next season and have made an offer already.
Really?
Yeah,
What source is that? Is that Rugby Pass or something?
Midi Olympique.
Oh,
All right, they're usually spot on, to be fair.
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Sorry, going back to Scarlets, Cardiff Scarlets. Um, Cardiff's defence remains a massive, massive problem.
They let Johnny
Um,
Williams through too easy for that try.
it's just, I think it all just looks wrong. I think it just everything about it looks disjointed. It just doesn't look great. I think the tone was set early on when Tinas misses a relatively easy kick to touch, puts it dead. Um,
Mm.
I just think, yeah, I think Cardiff looked poor. Both teams looked poor. It was an entertaining game. But yeah, both teams looked pretty poor. Just Scarlets looked a bit less and they were a bit more clinical, especially in that centre partnership looked good. I thought Grady started really well and he was anonymous by the second half.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought that as well. He was really good in the first half, Grady, and then
yeah,
second
really,
half
he was
just
great.
I think
went
weirdly, I was
missing in
thinking the
action.
opposite. I feel like I saw more of him in the second half than the first.
Mm.
I
Oh,
said
I don't know.
I'll be hands up. I didn't watch the game live. I was playing myself and getting my ass handed to me because I ended up having to play a half on the wing. More difficult than it
Um,
looks when you only play six. Um, but yeah, it was yeah. But I said I thought it was just wasteful, and I thought both teams incredibly wasteful. And I said this team, I think we can all agree applies to all four teams.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
not tarnish your shit. We were shit in different ways, right?
We'll come on to
Um,
you a lot later.
You scored the exact same number of losing points as we did.
But for Cardiff, technically they shouldn't be losing it, but
No,
they they can afford to lose it because they're on 12 points. It's they sit in what, fifth, sixth place?
sixth
Six.
place, but
You
it's
know,
only going to go down.
no,
That's the
but
thing. We saw
doesn't matter.
Benton like
Is you still in a better position than you were, right?
so. I was talking with the Cardiff Central boys about this, and we are plus. Basically on based on equivalent games, we are +7 on where we were last season. However, if you look at the table, +7 does not change our league position at all because we are that far off the chasing pack. And this was another game that really we should have won. We didn't play well enough to win it, but it was a game that we needed to win to try and get that push up.
Mm.
And I said I am starting to worry, especially when I was looking at games like Ulster and Edinburgh, seeing how poor their starts the season, how much they're pulling it back already.
Yeah.
And that's after Christmas is not looking easy. I said I think in our first 10 rounds we have eight of our 9 home games.
Yeah.
All right, and then plus Judgment Day, if you want to be pedantic, it is technically, even though it's technically Osprey's home game, it's in Cardiff.
It's a home game. Let's not fucking beat around the
Yeah.
bush.
Basically.
So
Yeah.
yeah, poor game. Well, entertaining but poor standards wise, I think.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that's
that's
fair
fair.
enough. Yeah, it's fair enough. I have to give a lot of credit to the Scarlets, mind. I don't particularly want to, but I have to because I thought they managed that 30-man period really, really well. Their defense was excellent. And that try-saving tackle on Gabriel Hamer-Webb, I mean, that was world class. That was
There's an
absolutely
inch in it, and
outstanding.
yeah,
And look, I
perfect.
know Ben, like a lot of Cardiff fans are putting the finger, pointing the finger at Ben Thomas. I get it. Yeah, he could have straightened it up. He could have given the pass a lot sooner, but I don't think that should take away from that tackle because that was genuinely world class. I thought it was outstanding, and that was it. That was the game there and then. If he scores that,
Mm.
Cardiff would have gone on to win, and I just
I
thought it
think
was
you're right.
outstanding. Um, it is slightly inexplicable not to score against 30 men. I thought Cardiff were trying to force it.
We're about 12 or
Well,
11.
I know, but it felt to me like they were trying to force it. They weren't patient
Yeah,
enough, and I think Tom Shankly made a really good point actually on commentary. He was saying, good teams now know what to do in this situation. They know how to exploit the space and the gap. They know how to suck defenders in and create those gaps. And he said good teams will do that, but Cardiff didn't do it. And I felt they were trying too hard. They were trying to force it when actually they just needed to be a little bit more patient.
but the problem was it was exactly how they were playing with 15 men. It was basically try and get the ball as wide as possible. And the Scarlets knew that. So Scarlets, you could see Scarlets were taking a risk and leaving the middle exposed because they knew Cardiff were trying to get to the edge. When what Cardiff needed to do was actually tighten up a little bit and try and draw some people in. I said that second Harry Millard try, who I think if the game had stopped at half time, would have had man of the match because that half was just absolutely fantastic.
Underrated player, Harry Millard as well. Very good club pro.
But you could see like they were trying so hard to get to the edge. All Scarlets had to do with blitz was basically hard drift to the edge, and then they were containing it, and they beat us on the floor. Like we got complete. Like we really missed not having a Dennis Jenkins or a Thomas Young. Then Thomas very good at chopping people down, but we didn't really have an out-and-out Jekyll threat. And Dan Davis and Josh McLeod had an absolute field day.
2 turnovers each.
But turnovers where they were needed as well. So it's not like they were just turning over, like, you know, they were on the line and all sorts. And, you know, they forced so many errors out of Cardiff. But as I said, I didn't think the Scarlets particularly attacked well either. So I said,
they were
I don't
clinical,
think Scarlets...
though. I think that's the difference between Scarlets and
Actually,
Cardiff. They were clinical.
They were more clinical than Cardiff, but still not very clinical. Actually, if you look at points per 22 entry, Ospreys did better. But they were clinical enough. And I said the key thing, I was talking to Hugh just before coming on air. I said the two key things are Scarlett's far better at the breakdown.
Yeah.
And they took points when they were on offer. All right. Johan Lloyd missed one of the three penalties, but he got 2 of them, and ultimately that was the difference. And Cardiff had lots and lots. I do wonder if that's an issue with the goal kick, Sheedy and De Beers goal kicking in the past. And maybe they're now just trying to back them all and hoping the ball will work and scoring 5 because they're not sure they would get the 3s.
Okay, so who's Cardiff's best fly half then, Harley, at the moment? De Beer or Sheedy? Who are your best half-back combo? That's more of an interesting question. Who are Cardiff's best half-back?
Do you know, I don't know, because I think you had this typical thing of half-backs having a terrible time, the new half-backs come on, and it makes an impact because they change the game. I think the big thing for me is who's the goal. The biggest question is who should be goal kicker. And for me, I'm going to go with Ben Thomas because I think he's far more accurate than either of the 2 fly halves we have. That's not to say I want him at fly half because I actually think the way he plays as a playmaker at 12 works really well for Cardiff. But I think then it doesn't necessarily matter whether you have De Beer or Sheedy. They both have different attributes. Like De Beer is a lot more physical, but she's got probably that better pass distribution game. And both can work quite well. The big issue is again, goal kicking. And for me, with Sheedy, I do think because he's a confidence player, you see sort of things, the same sort of thing happened at Bristol. It only takes 1 or 2 narrow losses for him to have like a slightly bad game, and it sort of drops, and it takes a lot for him to get back up to the heights we've seen him, and that's the worry. So if he hasn't gone over that.
Okay. I thought it was an enjoyable game. Good to see another full house in Welsh Rugby. Credit to Cardiff, the marketing department. It is nice to see. I think that's a massive win for the Scarlets, actually. Huge for them. They showed a lot of character, a lot of guts. In that, you got to give credit where it's due. The only problem is for them now, they got the Bulls coming to town, and
half the players are suspended. You'll be all right.
Well,
yeah, I was going to say because I think it meant more for Charlotte. I think the win meant more for Scarlets than it would have for Cardiff.
Yeah, it looked that way, didn't it? I think Scarlets really needed that win to give themselves.
I think if they were 0 from 4, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of questions. Whereas Cardiff is still 2 from 4.
Yeah, no, I think that's
slightly.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday night, Ospreys Bulls, Ospreys 19, Bulls 29. A scoreline, James, that could have been a hell of a lot worse, couldn't it? Let's be honest. That first half in particular, that was a very tough watch, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I was sat in the stands for it, mate. It was awful. Let's get out of the way first. That Bulls team was near test level.
Yeah, packed with Springboks players, wasn't it?
Jesus, it was good. Villy LaRue, Curtly Aarons, Kanan Moody, Brett Chamberlain, Ambrose Papier, Vilko Lowe, you know, just ruined note. You had Hannah on the bench, so it was and we just looked shell shocked. We just looked deer in the headlights. Any insert phrase there. It was awful. It was genuinely awful. That first 25 minutes, I was sat there just utterly shell shocked, but not at all surprised. Um, Tom Boter injured himself very early on, couldn't get a grip in the scrum. He's gone off with a torn bicep. Ben Warren comes on, gets mullered. Who I don't think it's a reflection on Warren as a prop. I think Warren's a very talented prop. I just think that when you're coming up against one of the best club front rows in the world, anyone's going to have a tough time. And actually, he didn't do too terrible after that, and nor did Garen Phillips when he came on. Look, we did show some fight from about 25 to 65 minutes. I thought we did put up somewhat of a fight. Just look, it's a really tough loss to take because of the context behind everything. And they were down to so little numbers and we just didn't score, right? We didn't capitalize. We look like a team that lacks the courage to play that sexy, expansive rugby. We look like we lack the courage to try things and go wide. There were so many times I was watching Luke Morgan stand on the wing, waving his arms about, saying, "Pass me the ball." And there was nothing. And ultimately we paid the price for it. We came away with that game from nothing when we could have really come away with two,
Yeah.
Jack Morgan was immense. By far Osprey's best player. I thought Morgan Morris had a really good game in his 100th game. But yeah, pretty grim, pretty awful night. I think the red card was fully deserved. No matter
unless you're South African and
Yeah.
some of the comments on Twitter, it was a red card. It was a full-on smash to the head neck. It was a red card.
I think if it was to the head, definitely people were saying that's a red because it was to the neck.
Yeah,
everyone's. But no, it was a red. I could see it from where I was sat. I think all the cards are deserved, but ultimately we pay the price for not being clinical, and the comments around us have been pretty scathing this weekend, and rightly so. It's really hard to argue, as an Ospreys fan, where you can be positive apart from Jack Morgan, and it's not, and maybe not reflected in the table, but we are currently the worst performing Welsh region. So there's that.
When you talk about people being scathing in the comments and stuff, I think it's because people are expecting more from the Ospreys now because you had that really good season last year, and I think people are expecting the Ospreys to kick on, and they haven't really done it. What I thought about that game, though, James, is it shows that when you take away Ospreys' greatest strength, which is their forwards,
Nicky Smith.
Nicky Smith as well, big loss. I said he would be, but when you take away that element, your attack is so blunt. Honestly, it's blunt as a butter knife, isn't it? And it is a problem for the Ospreys, isn't it? When you don't have that forward dominance, there's very little substance then.
And
both teams.
We've been saying it for years, and I'm not saying we've been getting away with it because we dominate up front and things like that, but we do enough, and we can play good rugby. Like you look at the Jack Morgan, the Ryan Combier try. That's some lovely rugby. If Cardiff scored that, then there's a memoir being written about it. But the fact is that, but no, we can play it. It's just we don't, and we lack the courage to go out and do it. And I think I don't like speaking ill of Toby because of what he's done. I think that's the limitation around a Toby Booth game plan. Is that we've spent 4.5 years cementing a strong pack. And one bad game or two bad games against Munster and Bulls, two of the best packs in the league, doesn't make your pack awful, right? But two bad games, it just highlights the limitations of our backline. And it'd be interesting to see how Mark Jones counteracts that, who, his teams are renowned for playing wide, expansive rugby.
Yeah. Harley, what about you? Do you have any thoughts on this game? I think you watched it, didn't you?
Yeah, I said first of all, actually, I said I think it was a proper shocking little thing. After that first 20 minutes, I think, and I think Bulls thought the same, that they just basically done enough, and then it was just like a lot of stupidity from the Bulls, and I think they were quite lucky that I think the Ospreys had sort of gone into themselves a bit. I think losing Bota and Kieran Williams so early on in the game, it sort of put them into their shells, and they weren't quite, said whether it was expansive or not, but like even something like the carrying wasn't quite as it's expressive or powerful as it normally would be. I feel like as soon as they started losing the scrum, they sort of all went into themselves. And I said, James talks about how Ospreys pack passes more than any other pack set forwards and I'll be honest, this is where you see where it doesn't. It almost looks like, yeah, they're passing more because none of them want to take the contact, none of them want to straighten the line and cause it. Like Derry Lake's probably one of the best ball carriers in Wales. But I think maybe like Jack Morgan came back from there, and he's way down on the carries. I don't know if that's just because he's not in the right place to take those first up carries or whatever. But it is noticeable that it's not. You don't always see the best ball carriers getting the ball, and then you're wondering why you can't get any go forward. They should have. I mean, they really should have gone when it was going down to about 12, 11. Then at one point they should have scored. I don't think anyone who watched that game would disagree. But I'd still say that that you've got Adam Beard is a British and Irish Lion. Justin Timberlake's been there, done that. Derry Lake and Jack Morgan are Wales captains. So James Ratty's been in and around the Wales squad. Everyone says Morgan Morris and Tom Botha should be in Wales squads. You kind of want to see more from them. From that, I admit that the backline is a bit of an issue.
Okay,
they need something. And if you're losing Keith from Leith, and you bring in on Luke Scully, that's a huge drop off because you lose that midfield punch as well. Because Kieran Williams is unbelievably good ball carrier.
I was quite tame about Cardiff, but the fucking gloves are off apparently.
It's a fair comment though, James, is it not? Or
no, but that's what I said. A team, like you said, I think Jamie, you're right in the fact that people now expect more.
I think they do.
From potentially a team that came top 8. But just because we came top 8 doesn't mean we're not suffering from the same problems that everyone else is suffering from. We've got injuries, we've got disruption to our squad, we've got this, we've got that. It's not an excuse, but the narrative that is painted around Welsh rugby is that the Ospreys have this amazing pack that should be competing with everyone, and sometimes that just doesn't happen, right? Equally, we should be scathing that Cardiff, this team with the narrative that they score these wonderful, sexy tries, that play this expansive brand of rugby that sells out cap, didn't score against 13 men, against statistically one of the worst defences in the league last year.
And I said, the attack was not good enough.
No. But what I'm saying is
we are still scathing
in what if we're attacking one for one. Let's.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I said Cardiff were just that attack wasn't good enough.
Look,
Ospreys pack has not been good enough in 2 games. They retreated into themselves. The real
problem here, right? Clearly, is that Owen Cross, didn't give enough cards to the Bulls. I think he was biased. No, look, we weren't good enough, and that's the same thing. But if you're going to let me have something, is that we have the toughest fixture list, right?
It's definitely a tougher fixture list of the 2, which is why I'm saying for Cardiff, Cardiff should be winning more.
We're now down to two tight heads with less than 20 games experience, right? So, and you can say what you want about Dragons' injury list is massive, Cardiff's injury list is massive, right? When, arguably the only thing you have in your pack, you're down to the bare bones. It's going to be tough out from here.
It's an issue for all teams, isn't it? We will get onto the injury list later, but I just couldn't believe the Bulls' discipline, or how bad it was in that second half. So they played 20 minutes with 13 men, then it was 5 minutes with 12 players, then it was 2 minutes with 11 players. It was just absolutely insane. I did feel they took their foot off the gas and they massively dropped off in that second half. It did feel like the game was won at half time, but credit to Ospreys, they didn't, give up today. They didn't go into their shells, but I just don't think the attack was good enough really to be asking questions of the Bulls defense. But it could have been worse, James, couldn't it? 1929 in our first 25 minutes. I don't know about you. I thought this could be a 50, 60 pointer coming up here because they looked utterly ruthless.
Without the red, it'll be 50 easy.
Mm.
I'm not even joking. It would.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it would, because I think the Bulls just basically forgot. They just basically went, "Oh, the game's done." They only started looking like they were doing anything when Osprey started scoring.
I saw it in the stadium. It was, they just. It was more a fight back. There was the Ospreys actually started tackling and things like that. So, no, I genuinely think it could have been 50.
Yeah, it was a tough night, wasn't it? Against a very powerful, fully loaded Bulls team. Yeah, tough night for the Ospreys. And then on Sunday, Dragons were in action. Dragons 19, Lions 23. So I spoke about this on the Dragons Layer pod. I had Paul Turner on, a special guest, really good chat. Download that if you want to listen to it. It's really good. We spoke about this game, so I'm not going to focus too much on it. If you wanted me to do a 3-word review for this game, because I know Lee likes them, doesn't he, these 3-word reviews, mine would be another missed opportunity. And this is the frustrating thing for me at the moment. So I think any reasonable, knowledgeable person can see that the Dragons look better this season than they did last season. Our defense has really improved. Our physicality has really stepped up against powerful packs, against Leinster, Sharks, Lions. These are big packs. The problem is we are not converting that into wins. And I do think we'll get to a point where our season will probably end up like Cardiff's was last season, where we're not winning, but we're competitive and we're picking up match points, which would be an improvement. But it's very, very frustrating when you know those games are in your grasp and you should win them and you have the opportunity to win them, but you don't. And it's just another game of missed opportunities. We outscored the Lions 3-2. And if you look at their tries, the first one came from an error from Angus O'Brien. He kicked the ball upfield, put too much on it, went dead, came back from a Lions scrum, they scored. The second try was bad tackling, if I'm honest. Angus O'Brien got put on his backside. Joe Westwood missed a tackle. Very frustrating because our defence has really improved, but that was quite disappointing to see. We was in that game for a lot of it, and we had our opportunities and we didn't take them. And in a league as difficult as this, where we know there's no easy games, and for a team like the Dragons to struggle to win games, you've got to take those opportunities. Because if you can't win the winnable games, then what games are you going to win? And it's only going to get harder for the Dragons. So next week now, or this week rather, we got Benetton coming to town. Now, they're a test team. We know how good Benetton are now. They are the Italian test team littered with overseas players. Dragons are down to the bare bones. It's a 6-day turnaround. It's just going to be incredibly difficult to see us getting anything out of this game. And we probably will end this first block of fixtures into the autumn internationals. We'll probably only get one win. And it doesn't feel like that's a fair reflection because we have improved, but we're not getting results. The goal kicking is a concern. So against the Sharks, it was 10 missed points from the tee. Would have won us the game. On Sunday was 5 missed points. I'll let Will read off because he is young and goal kicking is clearly a work on for him. But Lloyd Evans has got to do better and he should be doing better. He's very experienced. And he's not just missing goal kicks. No, he's missing straightforward, easy goal kicks. And it's a real concern. Now, a lot of fans are asking why Angus O'Brien can't take the kicks. Dave Flanagan explained that he can't because of his abductor injury. So I'm sorry, but Lloyd has got to do better because it's killing us now, these missed points. I just found it very frustrating coming away from a games where you know you should have won, but you haven't. In terms of positives, I thought Tame Basham was brilliant again. He's doing his Wales recall chances, no harm at all. I don't know if he'll make the squad. There's been a lot of talk about him wanting the 7 jersey, but the competition there with Jack Morgan, Tommy Rafael, it just makes it difficult. I still don't know whether he's a 7 or an 8. It's difficult, but we'll wait and see. I thought Brody Coughlin again was excellent. I love to see him get a call up. His defense is outstanding. I thought Cam Jones did all right. James, off the bench, Gav did say he had a couple of tough scrums, and he was complaining at one point. There was a scrum right in front of me, and he was being pulled down, and he was shouting to the officials, going, "He's pulling me down! He's pulling me down!" like that. And you could see what he was doing. But Gav's, he knows a lot more than I do because he coaches and plays. He said that he was very clever with his bind. He knew what he was doing. It was legal. But yeah, he's a big lad. He's a big unit. There is potential there. I thought he did okay. But yet again, our bench didn't make a difference. When you look at our win against the Ospreys, it was our bench that won it for us. And in these last few games, our bench isn't making an impact. And that's quite concerning. But I just think that shows the depth that we have, really. We haven't got the quality or the depth, have we? So it's just disappointing and frustrating. But at least we are competitive, and at least we're getting points out of it. That's the only plus point for me. But yeah, it's a sucker, isn't it? It's a killer when that game is in your grasp and you haven't taken your opportunities. And like I said, it will not get any easier for the Dragons. Benetton at home next week, a test team, and then we're away to Connacht. And it does feel like Benetton is a must-win on Saturday night, but the odds now, well, it's I think it'd be a major upset if Dragons beat Benetton on Saturday, given the injury list we got and the quality of Benetton, who walloped the Sharks last week. So that's my take on the game anyway. Positives to take from it, but ultimately frustrating and never missed opportunity. I don't know if any of you want to comment on that game.
That's a quick point. First of all, careful what you wish for, because you spent all of last season saying you wanted to be more like Cardiff.
I know, but it is still an improvement though. If you look at where we were last season, where we weren't competitive, we're not getting match points. So I know what you mean though. Yeah.
I know that I was thinking more, like the curse of Genie's wish type thing. Of,
I know. Yeah.
Oh, we want to be more like Cardiff. Fine, you can lose every game, but you can get a losing bonus point.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I said it's not a friendly team. I think all 4 Wales, actually all 5, you include Wales women, just do not make the most of their chances, and I think we're all really, really guilty of that. I do love the thing. I do think Team Basham is looking really good because he's got 2 flankers and a tight 5 who are doing so much graft. He's allowed to do the fantastic carries. I know Ellis Jenkins is talking on the pod how he doesn't see him as an 8, as sort of a Gatland type 8, as a big ball carrier. I disagree. I think he is probably the sort of ball carrier because actually Wainwright and Falataw aren't actually that ball busting carriers. They're just very good with their footwork, which is like Basham's very good at as well. And with both of those probably going to be injured for the November test, I think he's got a good shot at that. I don't think he's going to make it in a 7. I think you're looking at Jack Morgan and Tommy Raphael as the 7s. But I think he's got a good shot as an 8. Again, shameless shoes. He's just a prick, isn't he? I love it.
He was great. Yeah.
I just love how it's big energy.
It's boring if I keep on about him every pod so I'm conscious of that. But
he deserves it, and I'm so happy for him.
Yeah.
A flat second Lions try though. It's the one thing they say. Lions have got a very piss poor attack, but if you give them a good counter attack opportunity, they'll tear you to shreds. And that's exactly what it was. There was a loose kick. I think it might have been Angus O'Brien. It was either Angus O'Brien or Lloyd Evans kicked. And they just cut through, and Dragons just weren't prepared enough for that return. And I mean, you kind of looked at it as they were doing their final, quite similar to Cardiff and the Ospreys as well. When those final minutes when they're trying to score, and you you could, in a similar way to. You could tell last week that Sharks were going to score at some point. You just didn't have that sense of inevitability. Like you just felt like the Lions were going to turn it over some way or another, which is upsetting. But the fact that they're so in and so dogged is, you're right, goal kicking is missed. I know Will Reed missed that one just off the post, which, you're talking millimetres of that one. But you're right, Lloyd Evans needs to do one. And again, similar thing, wishing you Cardiff, you've got a new fly half. You got a new fly half who can't kick at fucking goal.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
really
Is
frustrating though,
NHS
isn't
the
it?
answer if Angus can't do it? Can Owen even can he kick a
Well,
goal?
he played 10 at age grade level, but I don't know what his goal kicking is like. See, it is an
I mean,
issue.
they all must be having pots at like. Let's be fair. If all backs decide to do a little bit of goal kicking at the start and end of each training anyway. I mean, if they're any good, get rid of your ego.
But a lot of
You
these
know.
are easy conversions and easy penalties.
Mm.
Like even the one Will Reed, which was straight in front of me, he should have scored it.
The
I
one off the,
assumed he would.
that penalty off the post, it is like. But I said I think yeah, Lloyd Evans got hooked just before that, and he missed an easier one, and yeah, it's not good.
I think in open play he's fine. I actually think he's a decent player, but it's just his goal kicking that's really letting him down.
It's what I've been saying about De Beer and Sheedy. Take the goal kicking away from him, let him do that bit. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
No,
I mean, again, go back to the women's game. Helen Nelson of the Scotland women's. She's cost Scotland games because you can't kick a goal when you've got someone who potentially could score, who actually can kick the goals.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
One of the things in this game I thought was the second half we fell off a bit. We looked a bit flat. And Dave Flanagan said after the game, he said, today the issue was our energy. We looked flat. We didn't look like us. So we kept giving the Lions easy into the games. Now, I saw a few comments from people saying that Dave was harsh. I don't think he was harsh. I think he's right. I think we did lack energy, and I think that's why he brought on those early substitutions. James, you watched it as well, didn't you? You said to me the second half we weren't very good. Did you sense that drop off in energy levels?
Yeah, flat. Flat
Yeah.
was the best way to describe it. I think replacing the halfbacks was a massive thing. Like taking Rodri off, massive. And not to say Blacker was bad. I just don't think he was as good as Rodri. Um, I think, I think for me, a noticeable thing about Welsh teams this year is the emotional drain that some games have on a team.
Mm.
So last week you experienced probably one of the hardest things you'll have in recent memory, right? Is losing the game against the Sharks in the manner that you did. And there is an emotional cost that comes with that.
Yeah.
Because actually there's a creeping doubt in your mind. Cardiff, not sorry, Scarlets would have had it as well. In that derby, and the Connacht game. So there's two emotional things there where in the Cardiff game they go 15-0 up. They then lose the game. Connacht, they lose right at the death. And then actually you could see at Cardiff Arms Park it was an emotional release, right? So I actually think Dragons just they played so well. They matched the tempo of the Lions the first half so well, and then it just dropped off. It genuinely just felt nothing. I thought they weren't carrying as well. You know, boys weren't coming around the corner. It just the last pass wasn't sticking. Yeah, I still think Dragons are performing the best out of the four consistently in the game. I think the core skills are so much better. They're playing at pace. I
But
thought,
will the results reflect that, though? That's
no,
the
exactly,
problem. It won't.
and
That's the frustration, isn't
but
it? We know
yeah, and
Dragons are better, but
this was what was frustrating last year. If from a neutral, if you're watching Cardiff, is they played probably the best rugby. They weren't getting the results to go with it. Dragons this year, I think they've got genuine threats all around the park. You've got, you know, when Leon Brown's on the carry, I think Brody Coughlin in defence. You look at Ben Carter. I think Matthew Screech just having a quietly good season.
he did well again. I give credit to him too. He was very good.
You know, Tame Basham, I think, is back to his World War One general best.
Rampaging best is what Ben James said in Wales Online today.
Think,
Rampaging
but just
best.
there just seems to be a bit more about him. He's got that bit between his teeth actually, where he's like, I could have gone to Saracens, right? But actually, I'm going to stay here for a year and prove that I should be in Welsh rugby. I should be in these conversations about the Wales 7 jersey.
Playing like he's got a point to prove, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Rodri's still playing like that as well. So yeah, and Iron Owens having his best season. I thought he was fucking excellent. Every time I watch him, I'm just like, I wish the Ospreys had an Iron Owen.
Squidge Rugby tells me all the time
Oh,
when we speak
honestly,
about it.
every time the
Yeah,
Dragons play, there's a message in our group chat saying, "I wish we had an Iron."
yeah.
So I do think I don't think Dai was harsh at all.
No.
And I think, yeah, I think there's enough for Dragons to be positive, and we've probably all 4 of us have got the worst games possible to come back from where we were. Just to jump ahead, Scarlets have got to replicate or to continue their momentum against the Bulls. We've got to go to Ulster on a Friday night, which might as well be a foregone conclusion now. Cardiff have got to go to Edinburgh, and you're hosting, the Italian team with Malachi Fekitoa and Jacob Umaga,
And
so
like 20 odd players. It
yeah,
could be
Ignacio
more this
Brex,
week. Yeah.
Meloncello.
yeah,
We'll come on to the preview and predictions in a
but
bit,
yeah,
but yes, it's going to get very tough for all our regions, though, isn't it? No doubt about that. So yeah, for me, plenty of positives, but also frustration because yet again we failed to take our opportunities. Yeah, so mixed emotions for me, really. Okay, last week, if you remember, Lee asked us for our play of the week, didn't he? And we put it out on socials. By the way, Shane Lewis Hughes won the public vote. I think he had 60 odd percent, quite right too. But this week, Lee is asking us for our play of the week. So Lee obviously chose Blair Murray's tackle on Gabriel Hamer-Webb, quite right too. Outstanding. My play of the week is going to be Harry Keddy's intercept try against the Lions because I don't know about you two when you watched it. I really didn't think he had the gas to get to the line. And I watched the game back on TV and Carfrey so it said it looked like Keddy was running in treacle, which I thought was quite funny. But I mean, he beat the outside half for pace. He's
What is
quicker
it with
than
the
we all
Dragon
think.
7 jersey and a white scrum cap?
I
Turns
know.
you into prime Richie McCaw.
I know. He's been brilliant as well, Keddy. Fair play
I,
to him. He's been really,
again,
really good.
a big
Rafter.
reason in why I think Basham's able to do what he does so well.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. Harley, come on to you then. What was your play of the week from a Cardiff perspective? Millard, I suppose, is it?
The problem for me is I love good defence and I have to applaud. And because Lee's gone for Blair Murray, I'm going to go for. I mean, I kind of want to do that whole 40 minutes of Harry Millard, but his try saver on table treats. We're both going to go for try savers because it wasn't meant to thing. But I thought Harry Millard just had an absolute fantastic first 40 minutes of rugby.
Yeah.
I think he took his, that when he came with that Dan Thomas offload, he read the fact that he didn't need to clean, he needed to get the offload and score. But that just stopping Team Plumtree, he basically was worth 19 points for Cardiff. In that half. So I think I'll go with that try saving tackle.
Yeah, good choice. James, I know it's a difficult one in that game, but any Ospreys plays that stood out to you?
The bit where he blew the start whistle and then the bit where he blew the end. No, I think the Ryan Combia try was a really good example of what we can do as a team, but what we lack consistently. Really good movement at the back. Jack Morgan back to what he's doing best. I think he's quietly having a very, very good year. In currently a struggling Ospreys team. He beat 5 defenders on Saturday night, and that's not just 5 defenders, that's 5 Bulls defenders. He put is it Ruin Nortia or I think it was Ruin Nortia into row 1. So yeah, Ryan Combu's try.
Excellent, good stuff. Okay then, those are the options. I think Lee's going to do a compilation of the clips and put them out on social, so keep an eye out for that. Let's look ahead to the weekend. URC round 5. Now, this really annoys me. There's 2 Welsh games clashing with each other. So you got you got Ulster Ospreys 7:35 on a Friday, and then you got Scarlets Bulls 7:35 on a Friday. Frustrating. Let's start with Ulster versus Ospreys then. So game is live on Premier Sports 7:35. James,
And it'll be on BBC Sport Northern Ireland.
oh, we will it? Okay.
Friday night in Ulster.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about
It's
that.
always a good shout if Ulster at home for BBC Northern Ireland for people who don't want to pay for Premier Sports.
So they're just be aware that you have to, with the Belfast
change your
guarantees to
location
win,
on the iPlayer.
essentially.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm glad you said that because it didn't mention it on the URC website, BBC Northern Ireland's.
Just go on the BBC Sport app. You don't even need to change your thing. Go on BBC Sport app. It'll be on there. Right, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not
So
all TVs have it,
Kingspan Stadium, tough place to go. Do you think Ospreys can get back to winning ways in this one?
No, God, no. No, genuinely.
Bear in mind, Ulster are also having their own injury crisis. They, they've lost a lot of players to the Emerging Ireland tour, who are injured, and Ian Henderson's gone down as well.
And
last
year, we beat them. They sacked their coach because it turns out he's horrible to women as well. The issue is, the caveat is it's Ulster on a Friday night in the Kingspan in that horrible sponsor stadium. We will be without Tom Boter. We will be. I think Keith will be okay. We'll be out without Ryan Combier.
How serious is that, by the way? Is there any news yet on Combier?
He was riding around screaming.
Yeah.
It happened just in front of me to my right, and you could see he looked bad. Luckily, this week Daniel Cassende and Vadi Boshoff are in. So obviously Cassende is in on a permanent, Boshoff on a loan, so we expect them to be involved. I'm trying to think of anyone else that might be back. Potential on Will Griff, maybe. Fender, no idea. But it's just a caveat of who we're playing against. I think I'm not too worried about the result. I'm more worried about the performance now because we've had two poor performances. I think we need to go and get a result, performance-wise. Sorry, I think if we come out of that, giving Ulster a real bloody nose, because the previous times we've gone to Ulster, we've suffered really heavy defeats. So I want to see a performance.
Yeah, it is a tough place to go. I did see highlights and I watched the second half live of Ulster Connacht. Connacht really took it to a mind. I know they had a red card, but I don't think Ulster are as sort of invincible at home as they used to be. I do think they are beatable at the Kingspan, but it will take an almighty effort, won't it? Because it's just the crowd. It's everything. It's a very, very hard place to go. When was the last time Ospreys won?
They are leaning on youth a lot at the moment this season because they're having to balance the books.
I'll tell you. You guys keep going, and I'll tell you when Ospreys beat Ulster.
Yeah, I was just wondering that when was the last time any of our regions won actually in Ulster? Because I don't think any of our regions.
Well, it should have been last season.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'll never let it go.
No, you're right. Yeah, just remember that. Yeah,
royally robbed. I can't. I don't really have much more to say for Ospreys. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, isn't it? I think we can all agree that. So clashing, unfortunately, with our game is Scarlets Bulls, 7:35 game live on BBC Two Wales and Premier Sports. Now, so Scarlets are going to be going into this with a lot more confidence now because that was a big result for them against Cardiff, gutsy performance, but they are playing the Bulls. Do they have any chance at all? Do we think, Scarlets?
I'll be honest, if Bulls' discipline is as woeful, they're going to have plenty of chances. The question is going to be is whether or not they can execute. Yeah. I think the scrum's going to have a torrid time. It's one thing standing up and eking a few penalties out of Cardiff, with a half-fit Kieran Azarati and Ed Byrne, who is on for his retirement. Going up against Geha Steenkamp and Wilco Lowe and the like, that's going to be a real test of the improved pack performance. Again, I think they're going to have to sort the discipline out as well. They won't be able to get away with giving away the chances that they gave Cardiff. And it looks like it's going to be a full side minus David Creel, who's rightly going to have a long ban.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. If they play anything like they did in the first 25 minutes, they won't live with them.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think like having that back three of Aronson and having Kane and Moody, who saying that was playing 13, but Aaron Kirtley has a Willie LaRue that it's just oozing class. It really is. Both the Chamberlain looks like a completely different player to when he was playing for the Sharks the last few seasons. He's looking like that actual steady hand that they needed at 10 for the ball, so like get them over the line for a lot of games. I personally don't see. I see another comfortable built Bulls win. They've just gone so hard. The thing I'm interested in is obviously they had to go down to passive scrums against the Ospreys, which meant they lost a couple of loose heads. So I don't know how bad those knocks. So I know it was the tight head side, wasn't it, that they went down on?
I have the team sheet from that game, and if you've seen an official team sheet before, you'll see on the substitute props or front row, it'll say what positions they can play to a level.
Yeah, weirdly, Domachowski's listed as all three, which definitely is not the case.
But the Bulls ones are just listed as they can only play loose head, tight head, hooker.
That's very interesting because I know they definitely can do more.
But it's also a case of safety as well. If you're shagged and you come on playing a position you're not entirely comfortable in, right? I'm not saying it's any better in Southwest Division 5, but it's not going to be great at pro level. So ultimately, it's down to player safety. I don't think.
Old Penn's first team put out an entire front five. You could all play front row.
Yeah, but that's where we are. I still think
it's different there.
Comfortable win for Bulls. I think Scarlets are going to have to expend a lot of energy stopping them on the gain line. Just being able to, like Johan Nicholas versus if Johan Nicholas plays fullback against Willie LaRue, that is going to be an entertaining, slow torture of a man.
It's no contest, is it? Like,
well, Max Nagy apparently in the tunnel afterwards said to Willie LaRue, "You're really fucking annoying to play against. Stop being so good."
Yeah, that as well. He was excellent, though, wasn't he? When he's good, he's really, really good.
I have never. I just sat there with my jaw on the floor every time he kicked it, and he spooned one out on into dead ball, and it was the biggest cheer of the night because he'd made him.
Oh, is that Troy Farron said that the kick, the passing kick. Oh, it was just I'm sorry to bring up the painful memories again, James, but I mean that is just beautiful.
No, I stood up and clapped. Who's that good?
You've got to applaud good game. Like when it's that good, you've got to applaud it.
But
Okay then. So let's move on to Saturday. Cardiff, they were away to Edinburgh, 5:15, game live on Premier Sports. So Edinburgh have had a sticky start to the season, but they thumped the Stormers 38-7. What are your thoughts going into this one, Alex? There's some injury concerns, isn't there, particularly a hooker?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was feeling a lot better this time last week about the game. Thinking, you know what, a Sean Everett coach team under pressure about to host Cardiff. Excellent. We all know what happened a few years ago. And then they and now Edinburgh sort of pulled it together. I mean, admittedly against a very shonky Storm side, which, I know Hugh mentioned on the United Rugby Rewind their pods last night. Basically was calling them on fraud watch. They just, some very good players and stuff. And the thing is, Edinburgh didn't manage to do a number of Welsh sides over the years. They've always managed to do just enough. Like, against us when we hosted them last season, it took, it took them to empty the bench, but they emptied the bench with Jamie Ritchie and Bill Matter, and they just basically destroyed whatever momentum we had, and then won the game. Saw the game out. And I've got a really horrid feeling it's going to happen like that again. And as you said, I mean, Evan Daniel went off again. Evan Lloyd might hopefully be back fit. I mean, we won't see Belcher. I don't think we'll see Belcher again this year. You might see him after Christmas, but
it's not serious.
He looks like he's out for the foreseeable. I mean, bear in mind, November's basically a write-off for rugby anyway. That's
a big loss for Cardiff. Isn't it? Belcher, he's been excellent.
And his leadership's really important as well as him just basically, if a shit ball. When I was talking about someone needed to just truck the ball up, Belcher will just happily take shit all day, and he'll just truck it up, and he'll make sure that's secure. I said Evan Daniel going off. I mean, you're looking at probably David Hughes and Evan Lloyd. Maybe we might have to call up someone from the Rags or bring someone in on loan. It's looking very thin there. I'm hoping Domachowski's more of a precautionary than anything longer term. And I think one thing I thought was not having second row cover against Scarlets was a big loss, and it's something we're definitely going to need against the pack that Edinburgh have, because that's basically the one thing they do have.
Yeah,
There's some very good forwards.
Is there any talk of an emergency loan at hooker? Do you know?
Not yet, but I mean, there are better people who talked about this. Trying to stand on the central podcast, normally got his ear close to the ground. To these
So
things.
I was thinking, like,
I think the plan is that Evan Lloyd is going to be back for Edinburgh, but also I don't think they're expecting Evan Daniels to be thing. So I imagine if the first thing they'll do is try and call someone up from the Rags, maybe.
Ethan,
Or you've got Azarati, who in theory covers.
Ethan Lewis at the Ospreys knows Cardiff.
I mean, yes, but I don't know how much things have changed since he was there. Our lineup is above 70% now.
Perfectly capable hooker.
Very good hooker. I think you find it
Somehow only 26.
Okay then. So 7:35, the last Welsh game of the weekend, Dragons versus Benetton. I really don't like these late Saturday night kickoffs.
You
I'll
not
be
like
honest. No, I don't.
I
either like
think they're
it.
great.
No, I like 3 p.m. or 5:15. I really don't like these late kickoffs. Although that's just me
I
personally.
don't hate them. They're not my preferred ones.
No.
If I wasn't rushing on, if I didn't, the guy I was with on Saturday wasn't going back, had to get the last train back to Cardiff, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. We would have gone and gotten the beers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just personal preference.
I quite like it because I can put my daughter to bed now. I can just chuck it on, and I can just relax in front of the fire for the night.
I think the reason I don't like them is because the Stormers game, I had to watch it on my phone while my son was in bed. Like I was like hiding porn because I didn't want to wake him up. So, and the light was shining, and I was like,
Been there,
screaming like I normally do.
I have been there with. I mean, the amount of games last season, I had the phone in the corner, and earpod in whilst I'm trying to get my daughter to sleep. Thankfully, she goes to sleep on her own now. Susie, there is light at the end of the tunnel, James. It's fine.
What,
Then
the
it's just
Ospreys
when
or for
she's
myself?
awake that you hate.
Wait, for who?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Saturday, back to Dragons Benetton. So, Dave Flanagan, I read his comments in the Argus. I don't know if you guys saw it. He said, "We're very skinny as a squad. We have a 6-day turnaround to play what is arguably an international team at Rodney Parade. We have to be really smart with how we do our work this week because we are down to the bare bones. There's no other way to describe it." I'm dreading seeing the injured list on Friday when the team gets announced. I think it'll be a hell of a start if we beat Benetton, quite frankly, with our injury list and the team they'll bring to Newport, because they will bring a fully loaded team. They've had a tricky start to the season, but they did beat Sharks 38-10. There's some people might say it's only Sharks, but still, big win for them. And they're going to come down here full of confidence and probably expecting 5 points. I'm giving up trying to figure out who's going to come back in for this one. I keep saying it every week, but I really want to see Steve Cummins in the side now.
Yeah.
It's really getting on my nerves because every week Dai's like, yeah, he's close, he should be available, but he never is. So hopefully he will be. Aaron Wainwright is not deemed safe.
Hope he's not on like a flat rate.
I know it's really annoying, but Aaron Wainwright wanted to play a game for the Dragons before he goes into Wales camp. That's what he's told Dai Flanagan. But Dai Flanagan said, "No, we're not playing you for this one against Benetton. It's not safe." Like I said, I don't know who's available.
Should he be willing? Should he be going to Wales then if he's?
Well, I just think they want to keep him in cotton ball. Yeah, they want to keep him in cotton ball, and that's what that is. I've got very low expectations for this one, as you could probably tell. It's going to be very, very difficult. Like I said, I think it'll take a huge shock if Dragons beat Benetton. But we'll come on to predictions in a bit. But I haven't got much more to say about it, really. I need to see the team. I need to see the injury list. It's not looking good when your coach is already saying, we're only 4 games into the season, mind, and he's saying we're down to the bare bones. It's worrying. And it is across the whole 4 teams. Those Scarlets don't seem to be having the injuries, do they, that the other Welsh region seem to have. They're getting off a bit lightly, I think, but the rest of us, Cardiff, Ospreys, Dragons, are
Clearly
really
ducking out
struggling.
tackles.
That must be what it is, yeah. But I just think it's really concerning. 4 games in, when your coach comes out and says, "Yeah, we're down to the bare bones," that's just a result of reduced squads and pay cuts, unfortunately, across the board. So very, very worrying. Anyway, let's move on to predictions now. Harley, can you give us an update on the predictions league, please?
So it's quite tight. I had an absolute shocker of a week. So it's a loud thing. So currently we've got James in 4th place with 27. Then it's you, Jamie, with 31. Then a little bit jump up to me on 34. And then Lee, like it truly is the end times. Lee is in the lead with 35 points.
How the hell has that happened? He's normally shite at predictions.
I think he's just been picking a lot of like by one. It's ridiculous. Like, what was it? He picked Scarlets by 12. They won by 6. And he picked Dragons by 2, lost by 4. Picked Bulls by 5. So I think like he was the only one who picked the Bulls win. Last season, so that shot him up. But like I picked Cardiff, Ospreys, and Dragons all to win, so that just properly shut me up.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough then.
And on the WRRAP prediction league, it's still the same guy at top, and I've dropped down to 10th. Lee's still way behind. Although I'd like to point out, I completely forgot to do round 3. So no wonder I've dropped.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Lee told you his predictions, didn't he? He sent them in to you. So what he predicted?
So Lee has gone for Ulster by 8, Bulls by 10, Cardiff by 5, which is fucking fanciful, and Dragons by 10, which I think is even more mad.
What's he on about?
He wants to get back into the bottom, I think. And then I'll just do mine now, just out of the way. I've gone Ulster by 5. I think Bulls by 15. I think Edinburgh will win by 6. To be honest, probably more. I have given Dragons the slimmest hope. I think just by 2. I've just got a weird feeling about Benetton this season, just really disappointing and not winning games they should, or taking their eye off the ball.
Right. Okay. So my predictions are Bulls by 15. I've gone Ulster by 5. I've gone Edinburgh by 7 points, and I've gone Benetton by 10. So those are my predictions. James, what are your predictions then, mate, for the weekend?
Ulster by 7. Bulls by 12. Benetton by 6. Edinburgh by 4.
Close one. That's a close one. Okay, there we are then. There's our preview and predictions. I think that's it, isn't it, gents, for this week?
I think you're right.
Excellent. That's a wrap then.
I can do the Wales women bit if you want. Just to
please
quickly.
Go on. Yeah, because they did.
We are going to record this week, but the Wales women bit is we beat Japan very unconvincingly. And I mean, Philippa Tutti said it best on Scrum 5. Something needs to change, which is something we've been calling for a while. John, as he was called all the time through the coverage of WXV, is just clear. John Cunningham needs to go.
John Cunningham. That's quite funny, actually. John Cunningham. Okay, well, we better promote the feeder pod. So I've already mentioned, man, we have Paul Turner on the Dragon Slayer pod. A really good chat about his career, about his role at the Dragons at Amptill. There is some Anglo-Welsh League chat in there, because I know some of you like it, some of you don't. But we keep, when we have a special guest on, people always ask us to ask the guest about Anglo-Welsh League. I find it quite tedious. But,
so I've heard a little bit of his chat on the Anglo-Welsh. But I thought actually he's really fair and balanced with how he discusses it.
Yeah, he is. And he's in the thick of it as well. He's coaching in England, so he probably knows a lot about what's going on. He probably has contacts and knows what's being discussed. So it was a very good chat. He's a really nice guy, actually, Paul Turner. What about your feeder pods then? Harley, Cardiff Central this week? You recording? Any guests?
I've got a feeling it's going to be one hell of a rant by Carwyn, based on what he was saying on the messaging. And he's pent up from Glasgow as well. Right. And I said, we're going to do a WXV wrap up. So basically just sort of talking like all our best bits from the whole tournament for the Winter Pod. That will be recorded Thursday night, so out for your inboxes for Friday.
Brilliant. What about you, James? Ospreys EV podcast. Have you got any guests? Anyone from the Osprey?
I haven't. I've been on annual leave until today, and that includes from pod related things. So no, I'll have a message in the morning, see if we can get anyone this week. But no, it'll be looking forward to Ulster away. Trying to get some stuff in the pipeline. But no, very much looking forward to Ulster away. Trying to think of some new bullshit quizzes we can do.
Hashtag good player. Anything?
I'll have a look through the old Ulster away games. I have a feeling.
Did you find out the last time you beat them in Ulster?
I did not. I couldn't find anything off a quick Google search. I'd have to look back through proper records.
Okay, fair enough then. Gents, that's a wrap for this week. We'll be back next week to review round 5 and give our reaction to the Wales squad, because that's going to be out Monday, isn't it?
Next Monday.
Next Monday, so we'll give our reaction to that. But until then, take care and goodbye.
That was WRRAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.